Hello people of the internet and welcome back to my channel. So, I know what you guys are thinking, Kiana, Dollhouse, what happened to it? I've been working on it. Here comes my cat. Stepping all over my equipment. Thank ya. Anyway, so like I was saying, guys, I have been working on the dollhouse. I just have been behind on filming everything, so I apologize for that. But this is going to be a little bit of an update video on things that I have accomplished since the last video. If you haven't watched the last video, I highly recommend that you do. In the last video, we focused entirely on painting, assembling the dollhouse, all that stuff, and that was actually where I left off in that video. So at the end of the video, I showed you guys a picture of what the dollhouse looked all assembled, and since then I pretty much have been focused on creating things for the dollhouse as opposed to like setting things up in the dollhouse, if that makes sense. Aside from building stuff and creating stuff, which I will get to in a second, I have been collecting things like furniture, accessories, all that type of stuff, just things that I think I may want to use in the dollhouse. I do want to start with a couple big things. One, I did buy this doll kitchen. Let me tell you guys about this doll kitchen for a second. It is my dream doll kitchen. Okay, I saw this kitchen for the first time years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, I want that. And so, basically, I ended up selling this one little My Little Pony. It was a rare My Little Pony. I think it was like the Lil Sweet Cake or something like that. Lil Sweet something. Okay, Lil Sweet Money, because it made me money. And I sold it for $100 on Mercari, and I used that money to buy this kitchen. And I know what you're thinking, Kiana, $100 for a kitchen? A doll kitchen, a fake one. Yes. It is the Tycho Kitchen Little's kitchen, and you'll see it here. And I love this kitchen so much. I did actually find someone on Mercari that was selling the main actual kitchen part, the fridge, and the oven, and I got it all for like $80-something, not counting shipping. So like that was a good deal, considering that I didn't really have to pay out of pocket for it, considering that I sold that $100 My Little Pony. Anyway, so I did paint that. I also had to make... What are you doing? I also had to make some new, like... Do you want to be on camera? Look it! Oh... Also, look at her paws. Anyways, so yeah, I had to make some new knobs for some of the drawers, and then I spray painted it. I also added countertops, so that's fun. I do want to take a moment just to highlight this kitchen here because it's seriously so amazing. So my favorite part about this kitchen is just the amount of organization options. There's so many different drawers and cabinets. And no, this isn't sponsored, of course, because this company literally doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. Awkward. Anyways, here is the oven. I also really like the oven. It does have a working light and sounds, which is pretty neat. And then, of course, the fridge, which is also one of my favorites. In general, just love the whole set. Spoiler! Anyways, so this fridge also has a number of shelves and drawers. I did actually have to make some shelves out of acrylic because some were missing, but I still think that, you know, they turned out decent enough. She's biting a cord! Stop biting cords! We don't do that. You guys are going to hear me mention the Goodwill bins a lot. If you don't know what that is, it's basically the Goodwill outlet, but it's commonly called the Goodwill bins. You have big bins filled with random stuff, and you have to like dig through them. I have found so much doll stuff, even stuff that isn't meant for dolls, but I like to like, you know, I'm there thinking, ooh, I could repurpose this. And I probably look crazy grabbing some of the stuff. But just to show you guys, like this bag. This is a bag filled with a bunch of like kitchen related stuff, and this isn't all from the bins. Some of this stuff is from the bins. Like I found this Barbie, can you guys see that? This Barbie platter tray. There's also like some little casserole dishes and other cute stuff. I also have this big bag filled with stuff. This is stuff for Aaliyah's room. She's one of the dolls in my dollhouse. What are you doing? I also have a bag of stuff that I may use for Dolly's room. She's another one of the characters. So that's just kind of an example of what I mean, just collecting little accessories and furniture and things that I could use. Now let's get into the dollhouse itself. So in the last video, as I mentioned, we assembled the dollhouse. There are a couple things that I still need to do in terms of the structure of the dollhouse. If you remember from the last video, I mentioned like in one of the rooms I need to add, actually in 2 rooms, I need to add like wood. If you watched the last video, I think you might know what I'm talking about, but just to recap, in Tyson's room, he's one of the characters in the dollhouse, his room needs like a piece of wood on the back because it's kind of just an open space. One of the other rooms I need to like add 2 pieces of wood, so I still have to do that stuff. Speaking of rooms, there is something that I did decide to change with the dollhouse. So if you guys remember in the last video, I showed you guys a paper that had like my general layout for, you know, which rooms would be for what. Since then, I have made a couple adjustments to those rooms. In one of the rooms, it was meant to be the master bedroom, as one of the large rooms, and I actually ended up deciding to use that as the kitchen. I just felt like it needed a bigger space because originally I think I was supposed to use one of the small... What are you doing? I was originally going to use one of the small rooms as the living room, and then as I was like thinking where... Can you stop? As I was starting to, you know, figure out where I was going to put certain furniture, I realized, yeah, that's not going to work. So I ended up having to sacrifice the master bedroom and put the master bedroom in the small room. And then the living room is now also in a big room as well, which I feel like makes sense. She's literally under the blanket. Another change that I did make was originally the bathroom was supposed to be in a really small room. That was the room that I'm also supposed to add the 2 like wood pieces, kind of like this. And as I, you know, was placing that vintage Barbie furniture that I found on Mercari, I was like, yeah, that's not gonna fit. It's not gonna fit in there. I had to move that into the bottom room as well, which you'll also see on the screen. Aside from that, those are all the changes that I made to the rooms. Everything else is the same. Now let's go on to what I've kind of have been working on. So besides collecting stuff, I'm still currently doing that. I have been creating stuff, and I'm actually pretty proud of myself because I have made a lot of stuff for this dollhouse so far. For example, I built 2 beds. I built the master bedroom bed, and I also built the bed for Aaliyah's room. She's one of the girls. I've also made a lot of shelves, like wall shelves. I've made some bookcases, and I will go ahead and note real quick that just because I made something doesn't mean I'll end up using it. Like the beds I for sure will be using, same thing with the wall shelves, but like I literally have a big bag. Let me show you. Just to give you an example, I made this whole entire bag filled with bookshelves, and I don't know if I'm actually going to even end up using these. I feel like in the process of making all the different shelves and stuff, I feel like my skills have been improving a little bit, and so I look at these and I'm like, ew. Boring, ugly. Another thing that I did do is work on some picture frames, which I have in this little box right here. So yeah, these are literally little... But like I was saying, these are tiny little tiny little. I feel like that's redundant. If they're tiny, they're pretty little. Basically, I printed out little pictures of the family, and then I cut them out and I glued them to chipboard. So then to make the wood frame, I took wooden craft sticks that I got from the craft store. I used these, which let me tell you, if you are an adult, okay, if you're an adult hobbyist and you want to make doll furniture, I would highly recommend these. So miter shears, that's basically what they're called. And essentially it is a sharp blade on this plate right here, and you can cut like, you know, thin wood with it. Like I said, just be careful with these. Only use these if you are an adult. Definitely don't be using these if you are a child. Okay, because they're sharp. I would cut the wood strips at an angle. So I made a bunch of picture frames that I can put in the dollhouse, which is cute. Another thing that I did do is print out things that I want to use as posters. And again, just because I printed something out doesn't mean I'll necessarily use it, but I have a bunch here. So like these are some big posters that I might use in my 80s themed room for Dolly. I also have some 2000s stuff. There's like a bunch of mixed 2000s and like 80s stuff in there. I'm trying to think of what else. Because like I said, this was just supposed to be an update on kind of what I've done since then. Obviously there's going to be more videos. Oh, another thing that I did do is put up lights, which you will also see in the dollhouse. I am going to add some, you might have seen them already, but I am going to add some like voiceover clips so that you can actually look at the dollhouse. The next steps that I have to do is still, you know, add the wood walls in some places. There's a couple spots that I did forget to paint. So I'm gonna end up having to either, probably not paint them, honestly. I'll probably put up wallpaper in those spots. I have to do that. I have more furniture to like spray paint stuff. I had to hang stuff on the walls. I have to actually add accessories. I think right now a big thing that I'm doing is trying to figure out the arrangement of furniture and stuff. So just because you see something in the dollhouse right now does not mean it's gonna stay there, because I still have to, you know, figure out where everything is gonna go.
Alright guys, so here's what the dollhouse looks like at the time that I'm filming this video. As you can see, there are a lot of things placed. Just because you see something there doesn't mean it's going to stay there. But I'm also going to quickly show you guys some necessary footage of my cat grooming herself on the ground. I feel like that was really important to include in this video. And then I'm also going to show you some footage of that same cat being a menace. Because that is what she does. This is what she does best every time I'm trying to film. So here is one of the examples of a space where I do need to add wood. That will be coming eventually. And here's that same menace jumping up into the room to show you that it needs to be done. She's just illustrating, you know, highlighting that example. And then here's another spot where I need to add wood on the front and back. So now let me show you guys the bathroom. This is a cute vintage Barbie bathroom set from I think like the 80s or 90s, and I do still have to spray paint it because right now it's not matching anything. I also need to add a piece of wood back there behind the toilet. And then this mirror thing I do have to glue on because it does not stay on and it's kind of annoying. So that will get done eventually. And then here's Amelia's room. As you can see, I did add some like wainscoting, and I do that in air quotes because it's obviously not wainscoting, but I used popsicle sticks for that and I glued them on. And I think it turned out okay. And then I also want to show you guys the wallpaper because I think it is absolutely just stunning. This is vintage wallpaper that I want to say is from like the 60s or 70s. It's actually not even wallpaper, it's contact paper, but that's what I'm using it for. And then this is an IKEA bed, like dollhouse bed, that I need to spray paint. You'll also see that same bed in Tyson's room. And then speaking of Tyson's room, I am going to keep his bed blue. The one in Amelia's room is going to be white. And there I'm just highlighting that wall again. I also forgot to paint this wall. That's funny. Speaking of walls, here is the very pink walls of Dolly's 80s room, which I still need to add carpet. I think I'm going to add carpet. So the floors will be pink probably soon. And then here I'm showing you guys some shelves that I made, which I think turned out super cute. I especially love this one here with the little hearts, and it looks like a shelf that I actually have in my room, which is from a picture that I showed you guys earlier. And then this is actually a furniture set from, I want to say the 70s, that I got off of Mercari, which I think is like super, super adorable. This is also an 80s canopy bed, an actual Barbie bed. And then here is the vanity that came in this set, and then here's the mirror that I also need to spray paint and attach because it always falls off. And then here is Savannah's 2000s room, which I honestly think is one of my favorites so far, even though it's not done. So here is her bed, which does hang off because it is a little big for the room, but you know what, we just have to roll with it. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. But I do like the way that, you know, the bed turned out. I think it looks decent, and I did paint it white, obviously. Then I also have her little lamp, her little Hello Kitty lamp that I made that actually does light up, by the way. And here I'm showing you guys some little shelves, which I love. I honestly want these for my actual room, just not in purple, but I think that they turned out really nice as well. And then we also have her desk, which I did make myself, by the way. The only thing I didn't make was that like clear drawer unit with the stickers on it. And yes, those are like actual little stickers that I printed on sticker paper and attached, which I think looks super cool. And then some more little shelves. Then here we have the living room, which needs a lot of work done. It's the living room slash kitchen. And then next to that is the master bedroom with the bed that I made. And the bed is also going to be positioned differently. There's the menace again. You will see what I'm talking about later on. So the bed is not going to take up this much space in the room. I promise you. You'll see what I'm talking about later on. And then the last thing that I did want to show you guys is the lights, in case you're wondering. I got these from Amazon, and they're just push lights, so all you have to do is just push them, and they turn on. Hence the name, push lights. And they're pretty cool. They do take 3 batteries, though, so you will need a lot of batteries for these, by the way.
But yeah, so that's pretty much it, I guess, for now. Like I said, in the next video, you know, there will hopefully be more updates, but I have been actively working on it a lot. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys later. Bye, guys.